2022 Hyundai Tucson Hybrid. This is the top of the line limited grade. Is this near $40,000 crossover hybrid worth your money? Is it as good as the RAV4 hybrid? Today we'll find out. Not only did Hyundai redesign the Tucson this past year, but it has also given us a new hybrid system as well as a new plug-in hybrid system as well. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a limited trim costing around 39 grand how this is equipped. What changes versus the lower trims, at least on exterior design, is we have a blacked out Hyundai logo and a blacked chrome grille. We also have premium waterfall cascading LED headlights, or should I say daytime running lights, because your headlights are right below in the corners. The hood does kind of remind me of its little brother, the Sonata, which I just reviewed the Sonata hybrid. We'll see how the efficiency compares to that vehicle today, but it doesn't have the catfish grille and the whiskers that go up. Instead, we have an origami like pattern on the side of this vehicle. It doesn't have much continuity in my opinion, but you're not going to mistake this vehicle for anything else. This is definitely the Tucson with all the creases, folds. Even on the wheel arches, the plastic wheel arches, we have some details there behind the wheel. The Limited also will give you aluminum around the mirrors, and then you also have this aluminum trim around the edges. It's not chrome, it's not nearly as reflective, so I appreciate the doling of the chrome. And around the pillars of the vehicle, we have a glossy black that you don't see on the lower trims. We also have more details on the edge of that aluminum trim here in the back. Now, while I don't know what to think really the sides of this vehicle other than it's busy, the rear end as well as the front end just look really good and very striking. Now, this is a little bit Ford Mustang on the back for me, but that's okay because I think it does look good. It is unique enough to make sure that you know that it's the Tucson. H-track on the back next to the hybrid logo, letting you know this is an all-wheel drive model. And we have a little diamond plated design around the bottom of the bumper that you see this dark chrome on top of it. Luckily, there are no fake tips. We don't have any pretenders here. We have one real exhaust tip underneath on the right-hand side, and that's it. When was the last time you saw a logo for a vehicle built into the window area of the hatch? That's pretty unique for this Tucson. Opening up the trunk lid though. Being a mid-size crossover, we have plenty of cargo space. With a hybrid, we have an additional 12 volt, 180 watts down here of power. Very easy to fold down the seats, 60-40 split as you guys can see. A little speaker in the back with this Bose sound system. If I lift this up, no spare tire, not even a jack. We do have this fix-a-flat kit here inside this bag. Underneath the very heavy hood here, we have the 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that we see in many Hyundai products. Produce 180 horsepower here with 195 or so pound-feet of torque. But this is a hybrid, so we have an electric motor that sits in between the 4-cylinder and the 6-speed automatic, and that electric motor is good for nearly 60 horsepower and roughly the same amount of torque as the gasoline engine has, around 195. Together they make around 226 horsepower, and fuel economy on paper is 37 miles per gallon, but I'll tell you guys what my fuel economy is at the end of today's drive. Lastly, all Tucson hybrids are all-wheel drive with a traditional drive shaft in the back that's very unlike what we see in Toyota's hybrids that put an electric motor to power the rear wheels. Getting inside the Tucson Limited Hybrid, we have a very familiar experience in here. If you've been in other Hyundai products, this one gives you leather seats that are ventilated and heated. We have a heated steering wheel with paddle shifters, which again, paddle shifters actually make sense in this vehicle because there's an actual 6-speed automatic. But anyways, I like this steering wheel. It is pretty plain, a decent girth to it up top, but one of my favorite things about this steering wheel is that you can just rest your hand at the bottom. The door panel has just about every single material you can throw in it. Hard touch plastic, soft touch plastic, glossy plastic, aluminum. You have glossy black around the window controls, and then you have the durable hard touch plastic at the bottom. And that theme of soft and hard touch and glossiness also carries into the rest of the interior. We have a soft touch dash, of course, but tons of glossy black around the center stack where the screen and HVAC controls are. I do like the touch of this fabric that does go below the dash, and the dash itself below that is a nice soft touch as well. We have a digital MID behind the steering wheel that gives you all your information in terms of miles per gallon. It also will change the gauges depending on what drive mode you're in. I love how the center stack is raised and pushed away from the rest of the dash, so it's easier to interact with, and luckily it's closer to me because I don't have any dials or any tactile knobs or buttons here. Everything's touch feedback, and it's not my cup of tea. How hard would it be just to replace the volume touch capacitive buttons here with a volume knob? Same thing with the seek and track buttons. It is what it is. One of my favorite things about the climate control is this diffuse button. So you have all these little circles and perforations on the dash that leads to your vents, and it kind of just leaks air at you. So it gives you like a fresh air experience where you're not getting blasted with the direct air from the traditional vents. I really appreciate it. And the seat does move back for you to get into the vehicle. Unfortunately, the steering wheel doesn't behave the same because it is a manual tilt and telescopic steering wheel. Also in Limited, you don't get wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. You'd have to go down to the lower trim levels like Eco or XLE convenience package. You do have it wired though. And so it's just one of those things. It's not just Hyundai that does that, where you go up, you get a new screen, a bigger screen, fancier controls, but you lose functionality. They're not the only ones to do it, but it's just unfortunate. The wireless charger in here works really well with my phone. No USB-Cs in here, but we do have 4 USB-As. Sitting in the back, I have a ton of legroom. Unfortunately, the backs of the seats have a hard touch to them. Makes it durable, but not very comfortable. We do have mat pockets. Again, 2 USBs in the back with the vents nicely placed very high, so it's easy to get to the passengers. Door trims back here are very similar to what we have on the front door, so nice attention to detail there. And then we also have heated rear seats in this particular model, which has 2 settings. And the sunroof, which is panoramic, is excellent in this car. I feel like I have a direct shot at the sun. Whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know. And one of my favorite things is the reclining seats, and these seats recline very far back, so it's a very nappable experience back here. Back in the review spot, we are greeted with a very high resolution 360 camera that we see on other Hyundai products. Good to see that here. All right, a little 0 to 60. We're gonna put it into sport mode here, and there's no torque braking, so go. Because I tried to torque brake on the Sonata hybrid. Oh, it feels good when you're accelerating this vehicle. There's 60. So this is definitely quicker to 60 compared to the Sonata hybrid, which has a naturally aspirated 2-liter engine. This with the turbo 1.6-liter 4-cylinder. We got 0 to 60 in 7.78 seconds. Definitely a little bit quicker than I was expecting, and I'm okay with it. Most of the time, actually that's the first time I've wrung out this engine, and it was pretty satisfying because I've been focusing on fuel economy. We'll talk more about that in a second, but we're gonna do this brake test real quick. After the dead end sign, I'm going about 35 and onto the brakes hard. You know, it does better when you're getting into the brakes hard rather than soft, because when you're trying to slow down this vehicle, I'm going to put it back in a normal mode, or eco mode technically. When you're driving this just with stop and go traffic, the first third of the brake pedal or so is just mainly for the regen brakes, and you can see that charge meter you know, filling up as you're getting into the brakes. But if you need to stop with any sort of like consistency and hurrying, you have to keep pressing. But it is surprisingly very linear, and I'm very hard on manufacturers for their brake feel, because to me it's a safety thing, and Hyundai, even though it's a hybrid, has done a really good job with the progressive and predictable brake feel. We do have radar cruise control in here. I'm just going to set it at 60 miles per hour, and that's one of the things about the MID I'm not the big fan of. I felt this in Genesis products, is that the miles per hour of the speedometer on the left hand side of the gauge cluster is really small, and it's kind of hard to read. So I pretty much have to keep the digital speedometer in the middle always on, so I can see exactly how fast I'm going. So that takes away the fuel economy gauges that I prefer to have up there on the screen. And this is a very quiet experience. We do have a little bit of road noise, but I'd say most of the noise in here seems to be like white noise. I don't know what Hyundai's done, and most of it just kind of seems like this either synthetic or natural white noise that is very peaceful, and I do enjoy the quietness of this vehicle. Like I said, it doesn't seem that quiet. It feels like I have a lot of white noise, but it is a very relaxing experience. This also has the Smart Park feature, which is pretty much a party trick, because if you try to use it in your garage, the vehicle will tell you it doesn't have enough space to park. So I guess that's cool. Using the touch system is pretty easy here. If I just press home here, I can press Android Auto. That gets me to my phone pretty quickly. And again, no tactile button, so I missed it and I had to press it again. So that's the pros and cons of a touch system, whether it's heating and cooling and radio or the infotainment here, is that if you miss it, you got to take your eyes off the road and press it again. So no one's behind me. I'm going to try some handling here. And it's very smooth and effortless. Even though you have a good amount of body roll, it definitely feels safe and a little bit inspiring. And I'm at 60 miles per hour and I'm driving fully in eco mode. So if I go to the home screen here, press hybrid, you can see, oh, the engine just kicked on. I didn't even notice. And that's one of the most impressive things about the new Hyundai hybrids is that the synchronicity between the gasoline engine and the electric motor, you can rarely tell which one is in control. Sometimes I either have to look at this screen to see what's driving the wheels or the EV indicator on the MID. So it's very impressive, and you hardly ever hear the gasoline engine kick on unless, you know, the 0 to 60 I did earlier with some spirited acceleration, but most of the time it's a very quiet and unobtrusive system for the propulsion in this hybrid. And you guys are probably wanting to know, what kind of fuel economy am I getting in this vehicle? Well, since the fill up, it's 38 miles per gallon, which is just a little bit better than what we see on the EPA estimate. On the flip side though, I've been idling this car a ton. The car was on the entire time I did the walk around. Also before that, when I was getting B-roll, I've taken this to pick up my kids in car line. So this vehicle has been through a ton of idling, and it's rarely kicked on the gasoline engine when I am idling. I'm gonna do a U-turn here to test out the turning radius. It's actually really impressive. It kept going. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm just gonna hammer it, but I'm getting 38.5 miles per gallon before me flooring it. And since I am going a little bit faster now, most of the noise I do hear is wind noise. I feel like I have a cross breeze though, so that's not helping me right now. Also, one of my favorite things about Hyundai vehicles, they have this lane keep assist that you don't really need to have the radar cruise control on for it to kind of steer the car for you. If I'm going at 55 miles an hour and I gun it in eco mode, it takes a while for the gasoline engine, the transmission to get on the same page, but you do get that electric response immediately. If I go into sport mode and hammer, and man, it's even less responsive than the Sonata hybrid was. In terms of responsiveness, not anywhere close to the Toyota hybrid when you get on the gas while you're already up to speed. So would I buy this Tucson hybrid over anything else, any other hybrid competitor on the market? Well, I think it's equally as good as any other hybrid on the market. I also really like that this has a 6-speed automatic transmission that feels like driving a normal car when you get into the gas, but when you're just keeping up with traffic, it's super smooth, very quiet. You never know if you're really in EV mode or if the gasoline engine's pulling you along. There's no denying that the features on this vehicle are amazing, but for around $38,000+, they should be. And I unfortunately, just like the Venza limited grade, you just don't have any knobs in here, and that is a kick to the pants for me. But if I was getting this Tucson hybrid, I'd probably go for the mid-grade, the XLE convenience package. It's only a couple more grand than the Eco, and you save like $6 grand off of this vehicle. I can definitely live without heated and ventilated seats. I can live without the panel roof. I can live out without the 360 camera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all cool features that makes this vehicle seem in some ways more like a Genesis model than a Hyundai model, but you know, you can get the same powertrain, a lot of the same features for $6 grand less. So that's where I would be shopping around $32,000 for this vehicle if you can find them out on the market. If you enjoyed my coverage on the Hyundai Tucson Limited Hybrid, make sure to smash the like button. If you want to see more Hyundai, Genesis, all the Korean and Japanese auto news and reviews, make sure to subscribe, because I will keep giving it to you guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and peace out.